Hello and welcome to our quick start video for the Strategy Automator EA. So this video carries on really from our product tour video. We'll put a link to that at the bottom of the screen. So we'll kind of assume that you've watched that. So that's the video on our main products page. And really this video, it's almost like a video version of the manual. Okay, so we've got the EA running on the chart. The first message you'll get greeted with is this about adding Forex Factory for the news events. So all you need to do is go to Tools, Options, Expert Advisors, and you'll have to click this green add button, add in forexfactory.com, and whilst you're there you might as well add our website runwiseFX.com so you can download rules from our website. And don't forget the http:// but don't put in www, just as you see it there. Make sure allow web request is ticked. Click OK, and then what you can either do is either re-add the EA to the chart, or you could just go to the config button, press news capture, and what we'll do, we'll go over to Forex Factory and just get the latest news events. So hopefully that's all appearing there. The next thing you might want to consider is changing the location of the box. If you want it perhaps over in the corner over here, and perhaps you can do the MetaTrader's chart shift where you can move the candles over to the left. It would give it quite a nice place to put it. If you just do right click, Expert Advisor Properties, and it's like there's like a box. That's it. So your box corner, so you can just change it then to a different corner if you just change that, and you can offset it from the edge as well. The next thing is just double check you've got a smiley face there, so that means it's allowed to open and close trades. If not, make sure this green auto trading button is showing that green play button, and in your expert properties you need the allow live trading. If it's still showing red, then it's probably worth asking your broker just to make sure that they've enabled expert advisors, because if it's showing a sad face, it's because MetaTrader is telling us that the EA isn't allowed to open trades. By all means, it's just a warning, so you can still try the one-click trade buttons even if it's showing a red face. But we've had a few traders that have had to get in touch with their brokers just to enable expert advisors. The next thing to think about is the risk settings. So you can set the lot size depending on how much of your account you want to risk per trade, and that's like as a percentage of either your account balance or equity, whichever's lowest. So at the moment it's quite a nice 3.33%. It's quite a nice figure, but if you want to change it, it's Expert Properties, and it's this one here, important risk amount. So you can put in a percentage, you could put in a fixed amount, say like $50, or you can blank it out and then you can put in a fixed lot size instead. So some traders just like to have a fixed lot size. Okay, so that's how it does that. So it's your choice. On the risk setting there is a nice little pop-up so you can change it dynamically during the course of a trading day, and you can actually configure different values here if you want to. Okay, now the next thing to think about after the lot size is the stop loss. So it's really important. If you are got a risk percentage set, then it's going to need to look at the stop loss to decide what risk you are taking in terms of pips to calculate the lot size. And this is our stop loss line here, the yellow. At the moment we're on automatic mode, so we ship the system in auto mode, so it's control with the SL here and there's SL here. Now the reason there's two sets of controls, one is for the sell direction and one is for the buy direction, so that's just to allow for very flexible trading. And at the moment it's set to automatic, and we've had a lot of feedback that folk do really like our automatic, but if you want to change it, well, first of all, on our automatic mode we recommend this, a stop loss calc method. You can actually go to advanced instead. There's like an advanced setting, and we do recommend that actually. The reason it's not on there by default, we did have one particular trader where it generated an error for them, but I think it was just something to do with their build of MetaTrader, and we've not had it since. That's just why we don't have it on by default. It just does a few extra calculations, and if the market's very choppy it can just give you a little bit more wriggle room. But of course a lot of traders want to have like a fixed stop loss, a set number of pips. Number one question we get asked is, how do we do that? Don't worry, it's all done through all the very important EA inputs are all at the top. So it can be quite frightening just how many EA inputs, but don't panic. All the important ones are up there. Some of the others are quite sort of cosmetic, really. So and it's the one that you need to change for the stop loss. At the moment it's set to auto, so if you wanted a 35 pip stop loss, you could just type in 35 pips. And you can see that it's changed from the SL's changed now from auto to 35 pips. But a really terrific feature that's easy to miss is you can type in 30%. And you may think, well, what on earth is 30%? And what it is, it's 30% of the average daily range. So let's just put that in, which currently is about 26 pips. So what it does, it looks at the average daily range for the currency pair and works out, so it's 88 pips, so it's going to take 30% of that. But what's lovely about doing that is because each symbol is different, each has a daily range, different average daily range. So the trouble with pips is, for one currency pair, 35 pips could be a lot. You know, if it only moves 45 pips in a day, 35 pip stop loss is a lot. But for another currency pair or another symbol, it could move 250 pips in a day. So just fixing at 35 pips isn't as good as actually setting a particular percentage. So it's just a terrific professional grade feature that we've got built in there. We'll put it back though to automatic, because the auto mode is very nice. So you just put in auto, because I want to show you one more thing about auto, and that is the automatic stop loss does one extra thing for you. Apart from setting the stop loss, it knows the direction, so it checks the direction that the market's in. You can see we're in a sell situation, so you notice the buy has got an orange there. So if you try to click the buy button, we get this message, unable to open it as the stop loss is not set. So that's because it's oranged out, and then you've got the white button. So it's just something to bear in mind in the auto mode, because if you're a trader that for some reason in your strategy you trade in the opposite direction of the market, then obviously it's not going to let you open a buy trade at the moment because it's not calculated a stop loss. So it's just something to bear in mind. So that's your stop loss going on. Oh, the other thing of course you can do is to move it manually. Quite a lot of traders like just to set it off the chart, so you can select man mode. This list is all configurable, by the way, and it allows you to just set pips, you know, sort of on the fly as it were. So set for manual, and then what you can do is select the line. By default in MetaTrader you have to double click the line, but there is an option which I've set where you can just do it with one single click, and then you can just move there, and you can see what it's doing is, and we demonstrated this in our overview video, is it allows you to change the take profits, because the take profits are all set to risk reward ratios. Okay, so that takes us on very nicely to the take profits, which we showed you them in our overview video. It's just a very flexible system, because what's special, it's not just about exiting the trade. You can scale out first of all, so you can exit. By default it's going to exit 25%, 50%, 75% and so on, but you can do much more than that. You can actually adjust the stop loss, so you can get it to make the stop loss just go to 15 pips when it's reached the first target, for instance. What you can also do is, if we set it to raise, and don't worry, you can get it to do set to raise by default. This is a lovely feature. The last one doesn't matter too much. What happens is when it reaches the first target, it'll raise the stop loss to break even. When it reaches the second target, it'll raise the stop loss to the for the first target, so I'll put the stop loss line there. When the trade reaches the third take profit line, it'll raise the stop loss and move it to the second. So you get like a jumping stop loss that just follows one level behind, and then obviously you'll do the 100% exit take profit there. So just a nice little feature to be aware of. But the other thing to mention about take profit, it's probably best to think of it as, rather than take profit, is take action. Take action when a particular profit target is reached. So what you can do is actually get it to not exit if you didn't want to, and you could just use it to perhaps break even. So you could just set it well, actually what the raise will do, that first raise will raise to break even, and then the second one will do the second target. And you can set it to break even, and you get it to trail the stop loss as well. So when you reach a particular target, it's going to start moving the stop loss in line with the price. So there's just a lot of flexibility that you've got over each of the profit targets. And they don't have to be risk reward ratios. You can have a fixed number of pips. We'll show you that as well. So the way you can configure the take profits in terms of what the default is, there's a few settings here, the important underscore TPs. The best place though to look for how you set up a particular take profit regime that you might be interested in is if you look at the manual. At the bottom of the manual, Appendix A, there's example take profit settings, where we show if you want a single take profit of 30 pips, it just shows you the A inputs that you need to achieve that. So that's the best place to look really on how you just set up a particular regime. So basically if you did want just one take profit, then you just want one exit of 100%, and then you want it to be pips, let's say. So you wanted like a 30 pip take profit, click OK, so you've just got now one take profit, 30 pips, there you go. And if you press the TB button, you see we've just got one level there. So very, very configurable, but check out Appendix A for more guidance on that. One final thing to say about the take profits is if you want to move the line manually on the chart, so at the moment we've got this like auto set, so that's going to either be auto risk reward ratio or auto number of pips, so it's kind of just locked in there on the market price. But if you want to move it manually, just untick that auto, click OK, and now what you're allowed to do now is to actually select that line and just put it wherever you want. If you don't do that, then it's just the line will just jump back. So that's just something to bear in mind. And just one final thing to say about take profit, what you can do is instead of exit 100%, you can actually do an exit of minus 25%. And you may think, well, what on earth does that mean, exit 25%? And what it is, you can use these take action at profit levels to actually scale in the trade. So an exit of minus 25% will actually add to your position. So it's a very advanced feature, but I just wanted to mention it, that there is a capability of, as it reaches profit targets, of actually scaling in the position, and then later on you could do the exits as the trade progresses. So it's just something to be aware of. We've got that capability. Right, okay, let's get cracking then, and I think it's time to open a trade really. So we've got our one-click trading buttons there. If we press the sell, that's going to open our sell trade. So a few things happen. The take profit line goes to a dash line, as does the stop loss, to show that it's active. We've got our close button appeared, scale in. We've got our profit being reported on the status bar there. It's yellow at the moment because it's in loss, but it'll change to that cyan colour when it goes into profit. But also look at this, we've got it's set a broker stop loss. So if we have a look at the let's bring up the terminal. So it has set a broker stop loss, but it's deliberately further away than where your actual. So this is your hidden stop loss. So this is your real stop loss. We don't want to tell the broker what that is, and we've got a whole video on why you don't tell your broker where your real stop loss is. We still do set a broker stop loss, but it's deliberately further away, so the broker isn't tempted to try and trigger it. And we've done the same with the take profit as well. That's also been set, but it's just a set number of pips, and it's configurable how many pips it is away from the 100% line. Okay, and obviously if you move the stop loss, if it's in trailing mode, then the broker stop loss will follow it, but just that set number of pips behind. Okay, so we've got the close button. We can you can do a partial close. That would close out half the trade. So we've got 0.2 lots open. So if we did a close now, confirm that we've now gone down to 0.1 lots. But you can also scale in as well. So if you wanted to actually add to your position, that will add 25%. So say if you open 1 lots, that would open an additional trade of 0.25 lots, so you can add to your position. And the stop loss and take profit will obviously manage all the tickets, so it will include the scale in tickets. If if the stop loss is hit, it'll close everything. Okay, so that's worth bearing in mind. We've also got the trail and break even options. So the trail, if you were to tick that, will start trailing the stop loss, and the trails appeared there to say we're trailing now. So as the market moves in your favour, the stop loss will move in line with it. There is an option to just only move on when the candle is closed and based on the close price. So that option, a few traders do like that. We do have that option in the EA inputs. And the other thing is the break even. In fact, we can set that because we've gone into profit, so let's set break even. So what it'll do, at the moment the profit is 1.2 pips. We always allow for the spread, so that is real profit. So we've made the spread and we've made 1.5 pips. If that falls below 1 pip, then the break even will actually close out the trade. So that's what the break even does. A few traders wonder what. Okay, so it's just told us that it's exited now because it just went back down to that one trade. So let's have a look at our account history. So yeah, we just made a little bit because it went just as soon as it went below 1 pip. That's when it exited. Now we do get asked why do we have a separate break even, and it's there as well. Why have we got this break even when you can just raise the stop loss to break even? And the simple answer is it's just if you change your mind. So if you've got your break even on and you decide to change your mind, you just simply untick it. However, if you move your stop loss to the open price instead, and you change your mind, then you've got to try and remember where your stop loss is, and if you get it wrong, then you're increasing your risk on the trade. So that's why we've just got a really lovely separate box for that. And it's also configurable. As I mentioned there, it exited the trade when the pip profit fell below 1 pip. But if you really would like to have like a, say, 1.5 pips to cover, say, the commission charge, then you can actually set it to just exit at a slightly higher level, so if it falls below 1.5 pips. Okay, now the other things to perhaps talk about, we've got the pending. Well, we covered that really nicely in our overview video. So I think we're okay on that. You know, we covered that nicely. But one thing to mention is there's an option here, alert when closed above. So it actually looks at the closed candle price. And also there's a few other things in the system. The stop loss is also based on what the candles are showing. So there's a few places in the EA where we actually look at the candles and we look at the close price. And obviously the candles that we look at is the particular time frame that the EA is running on. So at the moment we're on the 1 hour time frame. So if you had a pending order set, so let's just show you pending. We did cover it in our video. So you've got a pending line, but if you've got it on the trade when it's closed below, then it's going to be one of these candles. Now the only thing to bear in mind with that is if you were to change the time frame that you're looking at, then all of a sudden it could suddenly open a trade in this candle because the chart's changed, and it could be that on the 5-minute time frame the candle actually has closed below the particular target price. So if you want to lock things down to a particular time frame so that you're allowed to change time frame up here, we do have an option. It's just something worth mentioning, and we did used to have it on by default, but it used to confuse people. There's the show, so it's show panel, and it's if we select true, so it's show period settings. Let's just show you what that looks like, and it puts this period where you can lock it down to a particular time frame. So we could lock it down to the 1 hour, and now we can change time frames, and it's not going to upset anything that is related, that's calculated on the 1 hour time frame. So it won't upset our stop loss, and it won't upset our pending on when the candle has closed above. But if you put it back to 0, which is just your chart, then at the moment we're at 34.5. If we went to like a 5-minute time frame, then the stop loss is actually below the minimum that we allow. We've got like a 5 pip minimum stop loss. Don't worry, it's configurable. If you want to go lower, you can do. There's an EA option for it. The reason why we have a little check on that is because your lot size really starts to increase if you've got the risk setting on. So it starts to go very, very big. And the reason it's gone orange on the, so if the lot size is calculated for you and it goes orange, it means it's restricting it due to your margin. So it's worked out that you haven't really got enough margin to open this massive position size because your stop loss is tiny. So that's why it's shown in orange. So if you see that in orange, then it means it's restricting it due to margin level. So if we actually increase our stop loss, so if we went back to that 1 hour time frame, then you can see it's just calculating the lot size much more nicely because the stop loss is actually quite a reasonable distance away. Okay, so we're doing really well. We've covered all the kind of manual aspects of the system. It's worth mentioning though, there's a lot of polish kind of behind the scenes. So if you have a little look at the expert properties, it gives you a little clue of what goes on behind the scenes. For example, we've got a maximum spread for opening trades. It's really good to keep. I mean, 11's quite high really, so you can reduce that. We just kind of, it's almost like turning it off by default, but you can just set that to say 5 pips or something like that. So it'll make sure that the spread isn't too high when it's opening a trade. Also, something really great for when using live accounts is very often on a live account, well, occasionally you can get like an error message back from the broker where he's just not able to open the trade at the moment for some reason. And obviously, like most EAs, we do a retry, but we make sure that the market hasn't moved too much since your original attempt. So it's limited there to just 5% of the average daily range. So it gives you an idea of the kind of the behind the scenes polish that's really useful for real trading on a live account. Okay, so now we're ready to start talking about the interesting part of the system, which is the automation. So you can see all the rule controls down here. So these are the rules that we ship the system with, but obviously it's fully configurable, so you can have all your own rules and you can download rules from our website as well. As we showed you in our overview video, we've just got this growing list of rules. Let's show you though our built-in rules because they are very good. So at the moment we're in this sell situation, and imagine we wanted the EA to automatically open a buy trade when we start going up for a buy, and that seems quite reasonable because it looks like we've been having a buy, we've had a little bit of a retracement, a little bit of a lull, so it's quite reasonable to assume that it might take off again. And if you wanted to capture that automatically, this is how you do it. Our rules at the moment are in this off position, but what we can do is to get it to trade when these arrows change. These are our built-in indicators that we ship the system with, and these are really good. It's much better than just like a moving average cross or a MACD. There's a little bit more sophistication with the calculation there, so just don't rule these out. They are very good indicators. We're in the sell situation at the moment, so let's say we want to open a trade when this arrow changes to a green solid arrow. We do have like a hollow arrow, so when it starts moving a little bit for a buy, it'll turn into a hollow green arrow, but let's wait for it to be like a solid colour like that one. So what we do, the solid arrow is a reversal, so that's rev, so we need to select that. We can see at the moment now this is our entry rule. We've got this open has appeared here for runwiseFX entry because we're actually in the sell situation. But it won't actually open a trade. So even if now on the sell side we selected the to open a trade, it won't open a trade because it'll only do it on a fresh move. So we've got a little natural lock. So what happens with the mode selection is that tells the EA what to do when the rule signals for a trade. So it's like a two-step process. The rule signals say trade open please because the arrow's gone to green, but the EA then looks at what you've set in the mode to decide what to do with that trade open, because you might want to do nothing, which is the evaluate mode where it records that it's happened but it doesn't actually do anything. You may want it to just alert you, or you can set up a pending order offset by the market price, a set number of pips, and there's an EA input for that, or you can get it to actually open the trade, and you can get it to open the trade as just a one-off and then afterwards it'll go back to evaluate mode, or you can get it to open continuously, so when the next buy situation comes on, perhaps the next trading date would also open the trade there as well. So let's go for TOE. So, and we're good to go. So now when that arrow changes to green, whatever time that is, it's going to open for us the trade using the automatic stop loss and a risk of 3.33%. Okay, and you can also do the same for the exit as well. So let's say let's just go to off. Let's say we open a trade and we want it to exit automatically for us when if it turns back in the opposite direction. So at the moment we have got the take profit there, so that will do a take profit for us. So what we can do is we just need it to, we would like it to perhaps just exit when the arrow just changes to like a solid, sorry, to a hollow green arrow. So all we need to do is just select retracement, and that's going to do the exit for us. The rule uses a command called force close, which will make sure it does a close even if you're just on auto mode evaluate. There's a little section in our manual, Appendix B, where it just shows you for whatever command the rules issue what it does depending on the mode. So we quite like now using a force close just to really make sure it does close the trade even if you're just on evaluate mode, because if you decide to change your mind you could just change it off, switch it, change it to the off position there, but we'll keep it on retracement. Okay, so that will exit for you when it moves in the opposite direction. That's what the auto exit does. The reversal would mean it would have to wait until it was a solid green arrow before it did the exit for you. And both's really good. Both, what it'll do is when it goes, if it starts to go a little bit, it'll exit 50% for you. So if you get the green hollow arrow, you see that's a hollow arrow there, that's what it looks like, and then it will exit 100% when you get the solid green arrow. So it's just a really surprisingly useful little rule that, and on the status it tells you what's going on as well. So that's very useful. We've got a stop loss reverse, where if it was to hit the stop loss it would open a trade in the opposite direction. What else? We've got a close all trade, so it will close not just this trade, but if there's a trade running in other EAs on different symbols, it will also trade in. So let's just close that trade down. You can also do is to configure the system with rules of your choice. So a great place to have a little look is our rules library. And of course we can configure rules for you. A great one that we've not shown you yet, there was the rules based on standard indicators. We've got a nice one here that's like where you can choose between Heikin-Ashi and stochastic and things, and it's SI-S is the short load code, or quick load code I think we call it. So it's SI-S, download, click OK. Right, so this is quite a lot in this rule. Basically it allows you to do entry and you can select whether it's Heikin-Ashi, stochastic, goes to the buy situation, so you can pick and choose, and a little bit of control over what kind of settings. And if you do manage exit, then it will do an exit when whatever you've selected has gone the other way. So it's just a cracking little multi-use rule there. But really what I wanted to show you was where things go when you actually download some rules. So it's a little bit slight behind the scenes thing. So when you download some rules, where they go to is if you open data folder, and if you go to MQL4 files, and then it's in here. So it's this supply rules.txt. Just bring it here so you can see it. So basically, because we didn't do the replace existing, it's put it at the end. So this is where it all appears. Don't worry, it's all looks a bit scary when you first see it, but don't worry, you don't really need to sort of be able to read it too much. And we've created this beautiful Windows GUI editor now, so you don't actually have to. You can do rules yourself, but without having to use a text editor. But we'll save that for a different video. Okay. So sometimes in like the customize options, we do say you can edit the input properties to set different periods, say for the moving averages and things like that. So you are allowed to edit this file. It's just a little bit advanced really, so don't worry too much. But the main thing is to just understand that this is the file that gets updated when you download rules. So it's located MQL4 files, and so it's a very important file. When you add the EA to a chart, it reads whatever is in here to configure the system with the rules that you require. The other reason why it's useful to know about this file is if you're using the strategy tester, then the strategy tester can't read this particular file in this location, so you do actually need to copy it. So do your Control-C, and you need to go to Tester, Files. You need to copy it in there, and that way the strategy test, if you run the strategy tester, it would be able to pick up your latest configuration that you've downloaded. The EA does work in the strategy tester. The main thing is for all the buttons to work, you do need to have the strategy test running at, say, market speed. So if you pause the strategy tester, then the buttons will stop working. So it's just the only real thing to bear in mind, plus this thing of actually copying the configuration file into the tester files location as well. If you really don't want to be copying files around when you want to use a strategy tester, there is a button down here where you can copy config to common, and what it will do is copy the configuration file that you've downloaded into a common area, and then on the strategy tester you could go copy config from common. So on your regular chart you copy to common, and then in the strategy tester you copy config from common. So you could do it that way if you wanted to. Still a little bit fiddly, but there's no way around it. It's just unfortunate that the strategy tester reads its files from this particular location. If you've ever wondered where this magical common place is, you need to go through the meta editor button, and there's actually an open common data folder there. But it's common for all instances of MetaTrader. We sometimes get asked why we didn't use that common area, and that's the problem with it. It's used for, so you could have a live MetaTrader and a demo MetaTrader, and if we use that common area all the time, then obviously you wouldn't be able to have separate configuration for your demo accounts. It would have to match your live account, so you wouldn't be able to experiment and so on. Okay, what I want to do now is just finish the video off with a couple of advanced things, and the main one is, I think, is the multi-trade mode. So at the moment the EA allows you to manage a sell trade and a buy trade at the same time. You are allowed to scale in, so you can open additional tickets. But what happens if you want to manage completely separate trades where they have their own stop loss and their own take profit? Or what happens if you want to have multiple pending orders? So at the moment you can just have a sell pending order and a buy. But what happens if you've got a grid system and you want to open 5 or 6 buy pending orders, have them in place on the chart? And the answer to all of those questions is the multi-trade mode. And to activate it, we've got this in the properties. We've got this magic number. So the EA use a magic number of 2, and we've got this use max, which is currently -1. But if you set that to, say, 7, it's going to turn on the multi-trade mode. And I'm going to just demonstrate that to you. Now at the moment with version 4.46, you can't change it kind of on the fly. What you need to do is to remove the expert advisor from the chart, re-add it freshly, set it to, say, 7, and that's going to allocate magic numbers now from 2 through to 7. And then if we click OK, we've got this has appeared, selected trade. And basically what it allows you to do is to have these separate trades. So let's just say we could set up a sell pending order. We could go to magic number 3. We could set up another, but just select it further away. So we've got like developing a grid system here. So basically the selected trade just says what these controls and the line should show. So that's your 0, magic number 2, and that's going to be magic number 3. and basically as the price hits those two pending lines, it'll open a trade with those different magic numbers, and they'll be managed completely separately. So it's just a bit of an advanced feature, but it's just worth bearing in mind. The only little caveat to it is this terrible FIFO rule. If you live in the US, you'll know all about that, and that can interfere with this concept of having completely separate trades but on the same account for the same symbol. So it's just something to bear in mind, but it's just a great capability. There's more guidance on this in the manual. The other thing to mention along the similar lines of advanced features is we do have a multi-account capability, and it's something that you can easily actually miss that it's able to do this, but it's a really cracking feature if you're interested in managing multiple accounts. So it's just multi-account mode. So at the moment it's off, but what you can do is to select master, and then this M appears. Now what you could do is get another copy of MetaTrader running on a different account, and if you selected slave, then this master instance will automatically start talking to the slave account, and you can have multiple slave accounts. So if you opened a cell, it would open it on this account and your other accounts as well. So it's just a really cracking feature. And there's lots of reasons to have multiple accounts. It's not just if you're a money manager. You could perhaps want to try out different strategies, and say over a 6-month period, and you could have 2 accounts to keep the strategies completely separate. You might want to try out 2 different brokers, you know, and with this system, and it's very quick. It's much better than a trade copier, because a trade copier, you have to open the trade actually on the account, and then it has to see it's open before it opens it on the other account. But with this system, it sends like an instant message, so it will open pretty much simultaneously on both accounts, and then you can obviously check on the slippage and just see which broker is performing best. So it's just a great little feature. Okay, I think the final thing we can talk about is just a little bit more about some of our expert properties. We have got quite a few now. Don't panic though, we designed it to be really useful straight out of the box, so you don't have to spend 3 days configuring it. So all the essentials are up at the top. So you've got your what you want to do with the stop loss, what magic number you want, what your risk lot size is, and then you take profit. So just all the essentials there. Everything, there's just a lot of control. Do you want it to alert you when it's a trade has closed due to stop loss and things like that. So there's, and it's a lot of display stuff. There's that offset there. How many pips do we want the broker stop loss to be beyond the hidden? And the answer is 25% of the average daily range. So obviously you don't need to change that. Those are the, you know, the arrows. We've got the different time frames, 1 minute, 5 minutes. You know, if you wanted to add in monthly, you could adjust that list as well. There's that spread that I mentioned earlier on, slippage controls, maximum consecutive losing trades. This is a safety feature. It's possible if you were to write your own trading rule, you could make a mistake and you could get it to open and close trades quickly. So this is just a safety feature that if it detected 8 consecutive losing trades, it would just shut down automated trade entry. So it's just, we've got about 3 layers of protection. It's just one of the layers of protection on that. So if we don't want any kind of runaway situation on your account. The performance things, it can alert you if the EA seems to be taking very long to capture indicators. So if you've got an indicator that's causing problems, you can use that to identify that. We've got so you can control the panels. We can have 2 risk settings. So if you want to do very flexible hedging, you can have 2 risk buttons there, dual risk. You can also have a single lot. If you just fancy that, let's just show you that because that's great. So there you just have a simple lot, so you can just type your lots in directly if you wanted to. Okay, so you got there some traders like that. What else have we got? What goodies have we got? Pending orders, cancel other, so automatic. Traders love this. So if you've got a buy pending order and a sell pending order, when it hits the buy, it's going to cancel automatically the sell for you. So that's quite good. All our stop loss, take profit, everything works on the bid price. And that's really good because the bid price is what you see on your chart. All these candles are all on the bid price. So we quite like having any pending lines, any take profits, everything works on the bid price. The other reason for just dealing on the bid price is if the brokers are playing games and they're interfering with the price feed, they quite like to sort of spike the ask price, because the ask price doesn't readily appear on your chart, nor does it readily appear in the history. So if they're playing games, it's on the ask price. So by just sticking with the bid price, you avoid any kind of spikes in the spread that have been created by the broker. So it's just a nice little advanced feature. Reset after trade close. So basically, when you say you've adjusted your stop loss during the course of a trade, you've adjusted your take profit during the course of the trade, then when the trade's closed and you're ready for your next buy trade, it'll put all the stop loss, take profits all back to default if that's set. Oh, restore state. This is a cracking one. A few traders, they like to restart the computers over the weekend, and if you want to shut down MetaTrader and restart it, and you want all the EA to remember all its settings, where the take profit was, where all the pending orders were, if you set this to 5, then provided you've not been away from the live market for more than 5 minutes, then it will, which doesn't include the weekend, then it will restore the settings for you automatically. If you've gracefully closed MetaTrader down, bring it back up, and it will do that for you. The only reason we don't have it on default is it can confuse people if they don't know about it, because they can set a stop loss line and it just remembers it and they can get confused. So that's why we switch it off by default. So it's just if you need it, but if you leave your computer on all the time, best to just leave that to -1. All these selection lists that pop up, they're all configurable, comma separated values. We've got just various kind of display things. We've got the strategy, a little bit on the strategy test, and nothing really to write home about. Just leave it as it is. When we calculate the stop loss automatically, you can constrain it between a minimum and maximum. That's quite nice. Oh, and that's one that you may need to change, the manual pips. We've got a few traders, well, not many, but a few try to have a stop loss of 3 pips, so you'd need to lower that value, but you've got to be so careful with that, because particularly if you're calculating the lot size from your stop loss, because it's just going to send the lot size massive. I mean, we have got that margin check, so it's best not to go with a stop loss that small, because the market's almost random at that kind of level. Let's have a look. Yeah, again, time and nothing really. It's just performance related things. Yeah, I mentioned that retry, and then a few style things, colours. Oh, a little bit. This is worth having a look. This gen area. So this is how you can get it to when it does an alert, to send it to the configured mail address, or for mobile notification as well. So that's that. Colours, controlling with various display of built-in indicators like the spread in the top corner, so you can change the colours and so on. So we've got that. A little bit about the news. You can control how many lines it displays. We've got a lot of stuff. Oh, it's worth mentioning these user ones. Basically, these can all be referenced in the rules. So if you want to use the optimizer, the strategy tester, you can, as you probably know, you can, if the optimizer allows you to change the input values and try different values. And basically what you can do is reference these inside your rules. So it's actually a really nifty kind of advanced feature. And just a final little bit of display stuff. If you want to switch off some of the built-in indicators, we've got the monthly pivots, you can switch them off there. A bit more on colours, a bit more talking to our... That's it. So don't be too scared by all the EA inputs. Okay, I know there's a lot, but not too. You shouldn't need to touch too many of them. And just get in touch if you're having any trouble. Right, well, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully that's given you a bit more comfort over the EA. I know there's a lot to take in, but what you need to remember with our EA is everything it does for a really good trading reason. Okay, and it's, you know, and that some of that is for like on a live account where yes, you do need to retry if there's an error, but not if the market's moved too much. And there's so many EAs out there that don't bother checking that. Okay, so there is a lot of polish behind the scenes. There's those great little log files as well, which is really useful. So there's just, if somebody asked me why you should get our EA, I think it's for all the polish behind the scenes, really. And it's just not viable to put all of that polish into if you say order an EA off freelance or something. So you got your CSV file there with all your execution times and slippage, so it's really nice. The main thing now we're going to start talking about in our future videos is going to be our absolutely amazing GUI, which is about to get even more amazing. And remember, with the GUI, there's two sides to it. It allows you to manage multiple EAs running on different charts for different symbols. It allows you to manage multiple accounts as well, and it also allows you to configure the system. So if you actually want to start getting into writing your own rules, and we're going to be doing lots of videos about that, so we've got some great stuff coming up with that. Anyway, well, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions, please get in touch. Don't worry, just drop us a message. We'd be very pleased to help you. Thank you very much for watching.